time for the Straight Up Wrestling Show.
What's up, everybody? It's HBT with Straight Up Wrestling Show, guys. Here live, man. I'm just going to talk a little bit about wrestling, talk about anything when it boils down to it, man, because, hey, like I said, it is what it is when it comes to wrestling today. Excuse me. What's up, 20th Charity? My man, Charity in the house. 20th Good Kind Master CSX 2025 says howdy. What's going on, Lucas? I see you in the house, buddy. Glad that you're here, man, rocking with me. But hey, just in here, just have a little bit of talk, man. Straight up, straight up. It is what it is. That's the way I feel about wrestling today. Man, I just don't know. I mean, for the 4 years that we've been doing Straight Up Wrestling Show, same thing, week in, week out. Let's see, man, look, it's some things that I do enjoy today. And it's a lot of things that I don't, when it boils down to it. There are wrestlers that I like, and there are wrestlers that I'm just like, okay, they're mediocre. I think I pretty much like about everybody when it boils down to it. But, man, wrestling, if anybody, it doesn't matter who it is. And I think all the fans out here want wrestling to get back to, the level it was before. And I'm talking about pre-2002. They want wrestling to get back to that level, or that many people coming out to see wrestling. And most of you fans out here grew up with wrestling, and you grew up watching wrestling as a kid, and you was watching it at a time when it was considered very cool. Wrestling was considered cool. So now you're watching it now. You're going out to these shows and everything, and you're not around the people that you used to be around, pretty much made wrestling cool. You don't see a lot of people out here, watching the wrestling matches that may be, big time football fans or athletes. I mean, athletes used to go out to the shows and everything like that, but your normal average everyday Joe or the people that you really consider cool, like say in your school, the people that sat at different tables, and they was different from you, but those, that same crowd, they was cool. They was the cool kids. But when it came to wrestling, and you go to wrestling matches, or they could be out there talking about wrestling, it didn't matter. If someone was talking about wrestling, everybody could get involved. Everybody could join into that conversation. We all had a similar experience when it came to wrestling. We all was comrades when it came to wrestling. People might not like the wrestler that you like, or you might not like the wrestler they like, but you could all come together and talk about wrestling. And back then, I mean, when I was growing up, it was basically the territories. So you could talk about your favorite wrestling if you saw different territories, but you talked about the wrestling that was basically in your area, and you would talk about a territorial wrestler that you really liked. Like, say, if I like Ric Flair, somebody else might like Ricky Steamboat. Somebody might like Chief Wahoo McDaniel. I might like Blackjack Mulligan. So you had different opinions back then, and we all enjoyed those opinions, and we was able to pretty much articulate why did we like a certain wrestler, or why we like those wrestlers. Today, man, like I say, if you don't like a certain wrestler, or you like a wrestler and that person don't like that wrestler, a lot of people feel insulted. It's flat out crazy, man. And like I said, it is what it is, but they feel insulted, and maybe they don't want to talk to you or whatever, or want to counsel you, counsel you as far as out here, in the IWC, they want to counsel you. So it's really funny, man. And wrestling is just changed. It's totally different. It has a different crowd. I hate to say it. Now, I'm not saying that the wrestling fans that's fans today wasn't wrestling fans back in the day, because of course they was. What's up, Hassan Terrell is in the house. Hanson Terrell is in the house, my man. Yes, they were the fans that are fans today was wrestling fans back in the day, but it was only a small segment of fans. I hate to say it. You can look at the fans today and say, okay, these are the real hardcore wrestling fans. No, look, I will go ahead and say These are the fans that stuck around and pretty much gave they all for whatever it is wrestling, and they put their heart and soul in it. These fans, they have put their heart and soul in it. So I will give these fans that. But as far as the majority of wrestling, the majority of wrestling fans back in the day, this was not the crowd. These same wrestling fans today was not the bulk of wrestling fans when I was growing up. They're not. They are not. But like I said, you always had this certain group of wrestling fans. I go back to a good friend of mine who go to a lot of shows. Her husband is a wrestler. And, we did a show and, a lot of people didn't come out, or those people was upset and they was leaving the ring. She said, those wasn't wrestling fans. Man, hey, I don't remember back when I was growing up that you could take a group of people and you pull them out and say, those are wrestling fans. Or you could walk up to a certain person and say, oh, that's a wrestling fan. That didn't happen back in the day. It just didn't. You didn't know who was a wrestling fan and who wasn't. And that's what was so great about it. And one thing about, I have a friend, Majestic Marie, and Laura Presley. They are Peaches and Power Bombs. They have a pretty good podcast. I say a pretty great podcast. I love those females. But Majestic Marie, she will come on our podcast. She's been on several times. And, there's people be shocked. Okay, I'm shocked that you're a girl. Y'all got a girl. Like she said, she said, hey, girls are wrestling fans. Not many of us, but girls are wrestling fans. But back when I was growing up, hey, it probably was more females. I would say it was more female wrestling fans than male fans. Or it was 50-50. But a lot of times you would go to shows, it was 60% female and 40% male. It was a different ratio. So, man, I'm just, the wrestling landscape, the whole thing, as far as the way we see it and as far as the fan base, have pretty much changed over the years. It really has. And wrestling is trying to get back to that. I'm not saying as far as wrestling as the core of wrestling as WWE or AEW. Of course, they want to draw those fans again. But I'm talking about the fans that consume this thing, man. Fans that consume this sport, that consume this business, that consume the sport. They are wanting to get back to what they saw when they was growing up. They want those same people that used to watch wrestling with them and pretty much out here, because everybody was out here together and they made wrestling cool. And they want those same fans. And no fan out here can tell me they don't want that they're happy with just a fan base that they have. No, they cannot tell me that, because I'm gonna tell you what, when you see fans out here cheering, fans out here, they really not cheering, but they're at these arenas and they start screaming and hollering, "This is awesome! This is awesome!" And then, they get the holy snap crap, the holy snap pop, or what they saying holy. They don't say holy snap, you know what I'm saying, but they get that and they go on and on and on with it. And this is awesome. This is awesome. Fight forever, whatever. They are looking for people that may turn their TV and come across that and see that, hear that, and say, oh, let me take a look at this and see if it's awesome like everybody's saying it is. These fans are trying to attract people that's outside of the business. Now, as far as AEW fans, I'm sure they are pointing a lot of this to WWE fans. They are trying to get the WWE fans to pretty much react to what's going on over there in AEW. And WWE does it too sometimes. And they are trying to get, like I say, these fans, the ultimate goal is to get everybody interested in it. Because wrestling now, you can look like an alien when it boils down to it. A lot of people out here, you tell them you're a wrestling fan or you like wrestling, or sometimes I let people know, hey, I do a wrestling podcast, and some of them think it's, the amateur wrestling, but I say, no, it's professional wrestling. And a lot of people look at you like you're an alien, man. They really do. Except for when they have a conversation with me. They'll stop and they have a conversation with me, or the people that know me, they're like, oh, for real, that's what you're doing? Because they know it's got to be something about it if I'm involved with it. And what's funny is it's some of the people that knew I was a super wrestling fan from way back in the day. And it seemed like they have forgotten how much I used to like professional wrestling, man. And they shocked that I'm involved in it now. But yeah, wrestling now, it's just, like I said, man, it is what it is. It is what it is. We are looking at something totally different. And, we all clamoring for good storylines. We're all clamoring for great character building. We are clamoring. We want something a little different. And it's funny, man. And it's been going on for the last 4 years, man. It's insanity, doing the same thing over and over and over again and expecting different results. Wrestling, man, this thing has been on repeat for 4 years. For as far as I know of, man, for 4 years, this thing has been on repeat. Because how many significant storylines can we actually sit here and talk about in the last 4 years in wrestling? And I'm talking about with WWE, AEW, and TNA. Now, TNA or whoever else, MLW, some of these indies or whatever. But back when I was growing up, man, 4 years, in 4 years, how many storylines you could have just in one company that was a major, huge impact on the business. That's still around today. And you see the clips all the time over on Facebook, on TikTok, on YouTube. You see it all the time. People just run with it over and over again. Those same old storylines. And a lot of those things was built within like 5 years. And you have dozens of them, man, that meant something. Today, you just don't have that, man. You don't have the luxury of finding things that mean anything. But yeah, I see Raymond Underwood is on. Ray Underwood, man. All right, guys, let me get in here and answer, get in here and talk to the people, man. Talk to the Straight Up Wrestling universe a little bit. So, wow, my man, like I say, Lucas said, howdy, send link or else. Lucas said, I'm going to my favorite city, and it is Locust Grove, Georgia, USA. Okay. Lucas said, for the StreamYard link. No. Lucas says, who let the dogs out? Woo, 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 woo. Whoa. All right. Hassan says, hi there. Are you ready for NXT Stand and Deliver and Wrestling 41 on Peacock? Hey, got to be. Hassan Terrell says, I did enjoy the documentary on Peacock movie and it was good. Okay, I'm going to check that out. Lucas says, read our comments now. Raymond says, no, Harry, they look at us like we are a little kid instead of grown men. Exactly, Ray. Exactly. I mean, yeah, people look at you. They look at you totally different. That didn't happen back in the day. I'm sorry, it didn't. You may had, when I was growing up, in the late 70s, I'm going to go ahead and put late 70s because that's when I really was talking about it. But back in the mid 70s, man, everybody was watching wrestling or knew something about it. But back in the late 70s, when we started, some people started getting cable and things like that. Then you have a few detractors. Like I was a preteen in the late 70s, and I had the older teenagers who didn't like wrestling. They was all into every other sport, but they said they didn't like wrestling, but they knew all the wrestlers. That was what was funny about it. But those guys, they would sit there and they would say it was fake or whatever. They would hit that F word very quickly. Nobody really knew, but they was like, they just couldn't believe what was going on. But, a lot of times the way I looked at it was a lot of them was jealous of the wrestlers. I mean, it was easy to be envious of wrestlers back then. You had a lot of bodybuilders, and doesn't matter if they was using steroids or whatever, but they, their bodies look good. They was big guys, man, tough guys. Hold on, guys, just 1 second. All right, be right there, guys. Gotta get my kid off the bus. Honor. See y'all later. Have a good weekend. Yeah, be right with y'all, everybody. Honor, what's up, man? Oh, golly, what's up?
Oh, golly.
All right, bring you something in just a moment. But yeah, I'm back, everybody. I just had to pull a client's child off the bus. But yeah, Ray is 100% right. But yeah, they look at you like you little kids, or like I say, a lot of times, they just look at you. They look at you different. They look at you different. You tell people you're a wrestling fan today, you will be looked at in a different light, man. It's funny. It's funny, but back in the day when I was growing up, that was not the case. It really wasn't. It really wasn't. Anybody could talk to you about professional wrestling, and man, and like I said, it was at a time when you had all of the territories out there, and everybody would talk about what was going on their local TV stations and the wrestling that was in their state or the wrestling that was in their region. Everybody would talk about that. Man, it was great. It was great. It was not right now, Lucas. Yeah, Ray, I believe. Yes, sir. We was gonna go to a show tonight, but yeah, I can't leave the house at that time. I'm gonna have to let John know that and Chris know that I'm not gonna be able to leave the house. I don't know if they're gonna be on. They may. Well, Chris don't come home to 9 o'clock, so he definitely can't go to the show. But yeah, I plan on starting it, and I'm pretty sure Chris will come in with me at 8 o'clock. I might not start it at 8 o'clock, so look for me around 8:30. So guys, I'm gonna be late. But yes, we will be doing SmackDown tonight. All right. Let me go ahead and get the rest of these comments here. Appreciate everybody coming in. 100%. Ray Underwood, my man Hanson Terrell, my man Lucas, and we have Fatia. Okay. Oh, Fatia 12. Yo, love the energy here. Definitely vibing with this stream, and add me up on Discord to join your live stream with friends. What? Dion Lux. Okay. I hear you, but I appreciate you coming in. Whoever this is, I definitely appreciate you coming in and rocking, checking this out. And I appreciate that you enjoying the energy here. All right, Ray says from the late 70s to about 2005, in school and around town, people were talking about wrestling. Now, was talking about wrestling, but now not so much. You're exactly right. Ray. That's true. That's exactly true. I say, maybe around 2005, because it was still hot. I wasn't watching it as much. I pretty much stopped around 2002, and watched it every now and then. But I say it stayed hot to 2005. 2006, 2007, you start seeing the change. You start seeing a certain group of people that watch wrestling. But man, yeah, before that, 35 years, the 35 years that Ray pretty much referenced there is he's 100% correct. 100% correct on that. But you know what? There's a lot of people out here. Lucas says, Milky Way cookie. Please wait, Lucas. All right, yeah. Lucas, I'm going to come back on a little bit later, too. But, Ray, you're 100% correct with that, man. And the way things are, I talk to a lot of different people. They want me to just go with the flow. Go with the flow and look at wrestling the way that it is today and say, hey, it is what it is. It is what it is, man. And with that attitude, you're never going to grow anything. And wrestling has so much potential today. It could be one of the best runs in wrestling history. It really could. WWE has the talent. Even AEW have a lot of talent, too. They got a lot of talent in AEW. But there's enough talent in wrestling today that wrestling can have one of the best runs that it ever had. They definitely can compete with what the 90s had. And I'm not going to say they can compete with what the 80s had, because 80s had so many great wrestlers in so many different territories. So I'm not going to say that. But they definitely can compete with what the 90s wrestling brought us up until WCW, and NWO. But, that was first I say between 91, 96, that was a pretty decent era. It wasn't the greatest era. It was a pretty decent era. They can compete with that. They really can. You got the wrestlers. You got the teams. The tag teams, man. The Creed Brothers was a great tag team. And if WWE did it right, those guys could be another Steiner Brothers, man. 100%. 100%. And people talk about how People talk about how so many superstars over there in WCW, they don't have anything for them. And, especially these guys, a lot of these guys, man, you could basically, what am I trying to say? People look at certain people like Drew McIntyre, say, they don't have anything for him. Or the other night, everybody was saying, I can't believe they don't have anything for Solo Sikoa. Oh, that was on Majestic Marie's podcast. That was on Peaches and Power Bombs podcast. I think it was Laura Presley was talking about that. But, they was talking. Her and a friend, they had a special guest on there. Her and this guy, I forgot his name. They was talking about, I can't believe they don't have anything for Solo Sikoa. A lot of people out there saying that. Solo and Tama, it seemed like they've ran out of steam. Their bloodline thing with them doesn't matter anymore. You have Jacob Fatu arguing with them, and Jacob Fatu is arguing with Solo Sikoa, talking about he's going to do whatever he wants to do. But yeah, it's obvious they don't have anything for Solo right now. But in my whole opinion, they shouldn't have never built Solo up to be this big monster, like he was great in the first place. I never thought he was great or anything. I thought he was put in that position, to try to build onto that storyline, or he was brought in to add on to the bloodline, add on to the group. And I don't think they should have brought him up at the time. I think he should have still been in NXT, but like I said, it is what it is. But now you have Solo in a position to where they have got to rectify. They have got to rectify the situation, the past situation that just happened recently. And I'm talking about them building him up as a superstar. This guy beat John Cena not that long ago, and pretty much gave Roman Reigns hell, a hectic time. So now they got him in a position to where, hey, you have a superstar that you guys are letting languish, that you guys have pretty much walked away. So people are wondering, hey, what about Solo Sikoa and Tama? Tama Loa, or whatever his name is, Tama Loa. These guys don't have nothing. But like I said, I said to Laura and I said to a friend, if WWE, if they fix their tag team and got a real tag team division, then they will have something for Solo Sikoa and Tama. They will have something for so many other people that they have back there in catering. They would, man. Tag team divisions, great tag team divisions, solved so many problems in wrestling back in the day. Well, you really didn't have a lot of problems, because these guys that was great solo wrestlers could end up losing their title, and instead of wandering in the mist, they get them a great tag team partner. Then they go win world tag team championships, or United States tag team championships, or go win Mid-Atlantic tag team championships, or Georgia championship wrestling tag team championships, or the national tag team championships. They would go and win a tag team title that was relevant, or they become the number one contenders for that company's top tag team belts. And that feud could go on for a long time. It kept those guys relevant, man. It did. It kept them in a national conversation. This right here is being brought to you guys by Coca-Cola. Zero sugar. So, man, wow. But yeah, wrestling needs a reboot. They really do. I'm not going to hold my breath. And hopefully, we're coming up to WrestleMania. And I'm looking forward to a great WrestleMania. I really am. And look, I'm with it. And that's one thing even here on this indie scene. And sometimes I even have to listen to my podcast partner, and then I have to punch him down, man. I have to talk to him. Hey, this is why I'm talking the way I'm talking. And I was in a basketball conversation earlier today, way early this morning. And I'm like, you guys don't understand, man. I'm not saying that it has to be what it was back in the day. I'm not saying, hey, you got to roll out Gordon Solie. I'm not saying, roll out Gordon Solie. Hey, guys, We got to roll out somebody that's similar to Ox Baker and roll out Ernie Ladd and have a match like that. I'm not saying that. I'm not putting down these guys that fly around the ring. I'm not putting down pretty much the Young Bucks or putting down, a Darby Allin or somebody like that and say, oh, we can't have these guys in the ring because they look stupid, or hardcore matches what John Moxley has. I'm not saying you don't do certain things like that, but I'm saying you do not run away from the basics of professional wrestling. When you do that, you confuse people, and people just look at you like you flat out dumb. And yes, they have left that to where storylines don't mean anything no more. Wrestling don't mean anything no more. People winning with integrity. People winning with pride, with class, walking out with in a classic fashion. It's not allowed anymore. It's all chaos. Attack these people. Attack these people. Attack. Let's see. Don't let them walk out like that. Let's make everything chaotic. Let's make everything just nonsense when these people come to work. And yes, wrestling is a combat sport. It's combative. But nobody in the whole world, in any private sector, will want to go to wrestling to where it's just no nonsense, just knock down, drag out, just everything is just unorganized, organized confusion. Nobody wants to go to a place where it's organized confusion. Nothing makes sense. There's no rules in place. Wrestling should have rules. And your champions, especially your champions should be able to go in the ring, win their match, walk out of that ring, and walk back to the dressing room. At least 85 to 90% of the time, man. Yes, have them get jumped every now and then. Somebody's upset, thinking that the champion is ducking them and they can't get a shot, and the only way they can get their attention is attack them. Yes, do that every now and then. But every single show? And why can't the champion get in there, inside of the ring, talk to another person who's challenging them, and come to a mutual agreement without somebody else stepping in there, and then a fight ensues, or even if a fight doesn't ensue, it turns into some kind of triple threat. It turns into a three-way match. Why? Doesn't make any sense, man. It don't make any sense, guys. So I'm just like, just how much can we take? Just how much can we take to where we got to sit every single week and just say, it is what it is. It is what it is. And when you look at the fan base, all you got to do is look at the fan bases. You can tell that, hey, wrestling is not growing a bit. Because WWE, all WWE is doing, they're out here to take wrestling fans from their competitors. They're out here to take wrestling fans from AEW, MLW, TNA. They pretty much got them pretty much cornered with them, working with them now. But, also they have, started that thing Evolve. It's been around for a while, but now it's on TV. It's on Tubi. Everybody gets Tubi. But they want every single thing that's out there. You better believe that. You better believe that 100%. So, man, I just don't know. I really don't know. And you got wrestlers that go to these indie shows. These guys trip me out. They really do. They really do. They don't care. It's not that they don't care about the product. They just believe 100% that their match is just outstanding. And they don't stay and watch the rest of the card. They just don't. They up and leave. Or they sit back there and they're talking and everything. They're not watching what's going on. And the promoters, man, whew. A lot of times these promoters are former wrestlers. Indie wrestlers or whatever, have been in the business a long time. And they have no clue. They have no clue. Because it's funny, because all they're trying to get a bigger slice of the pie, of the indie pie. They have no clue of how to get how to get fans, people that don't usually come out to see wrestling, that used to watch wrestling. They have no clue how to get them back in. They don't. And if they do, they're going to give them that same old goofy type garbage that we see week in and week out at these indie shows, week in and week out on AEW. You know, watching AEW, TNA, not WCW, WWE. Man, why in the world do people think that WCW thing that they got right here on YouTube now is so flipping popular? It was great wrestling at one time. Yeah, they do got a lot of they do got all of it on there, and all of it wasn't great, but for the most part, man, WCW was great. And and you go back, I think if they going all the way back to the late 80s, the 88, 89 on up, man, WCW was outstanding up until like 96, especially 88 to 96. That was outstanding up to like 97. And then after that, Eric Bischoff, with all his goofy, all the goofy things that he did, he tried to be WWE, the WWF. He tried to be that, and we see what happened. And then let Vince Russo in there. The Pizza Man was in there, and he screwed it up. Before Eric Bischoff got into it, but it still was better than what Bischoff did. It really was. Even though Bischoff did bring in the numbers and everything, and but yeah, he had all the talent, man. He had all the talent, and he was smart. He was smarter than the Pizza Man. But the Pizza Man, I think, did pretty good because the core of WCW, of the NWA, of Mid-Atlantic Championship Wrestling, Georgia Championship Wrestling, it was still there. The core of it was still there. The UWF, that core base of that big three in WCW was still there. But mainly it came out of Mid-Atlantic Championship Wrestling, Jim Crockett Promotions, and it was still there. My man Ray says, give me just a second here. All right, let's see. I want to read it off of here. All right, Ray says, but I think what also hurt it was when WCW was no longer around, no competition. Yes, sir. Because you remember WWE with the violence, then sex, lost a lot of women, fans, and kids. Yes, they did. Yes, they did. That was ridiculous. What's up, Richard? My man Richard Hood is in the house. What's up, Richard? Good to see you, brother. All right, Richard says, Harry, the best years of wrestling was from the 70s to the mid-80s. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Especially, look, I say wrestling was at its best between 75 to 89. Incredible, man. Incredible. And I mean, you can go back a couple of years in the 70s too, where it was pretty good. But I will say 75 to 80 to 89, because basically what you had, like, Mid-Atlantic, the Mid-Atlantic region, which I live in, Jim Crockett Promotions, before 74, because 74, when I was coming up, when I first saw wrestling, I say around 71, 72, when I first watched it, when I was like I was 4 years old. I was basically like 4 years old, and my older brother, he was watching it on TV. I'm like, what in the world is this? What is this? Turn this TV. I'm crying, man, because look, at that time, all I used to like to watch was cartoons, guys, and it was only one show that wasn't an animation show that I would watch on TV. That was Gilligan's Island. And sometimes my brother would watch the Monkeys. I would watch that or whatever. Stay tuned for the Monkeys or whatever. I would watch that, but I thought it was goofy. It came on after Gilligan's Island, so I would watch it. But, okay, come on, Hunter. Let's go, buddy. Oh, God. All right, everybody, give me a minute. Oh, golly. Oh, golly. What's going on, man? All right, bro. You have a good one, man, too, bro. All right. Have a good weekend, bro. All right. Let's see. All right. But yes, I'm back. All right. Give me just a second. I'll come back in the picture. Yeah, talk a little bit more about this wrestling. But yeah, Richard Hood is right on the money, man. I say between 75 to 89 was my favorite time. Favorite time as far as watching wrestling. And if you go to anybody that's in, me and Richard's age group, Raymond's age group, all of us in our 50s, late 50s, maybe early 60s or whatever. But you go in anybody, in that Generation X age group, guys, and we're all going to tell you, and even a lot of the baby boomers, that was the best time of wrestling between 75 to 89. Because, like I said, when I first started watching as far as Mid-Atlantic back in, the early 70s, guys, I'm talking about the dawn of the 70s. You had Jim Crockett Promotions. Their tag teams were like George and Sandy Scott. Those guys pretty much was ruling the roost. You had Skull Murphy and Brute Bernard. Brute Bernard looked a lot like George the Animal Steel, guys. So if you ever look him up, look just like George the Animal Steel looks like Brute Bernard. Put it that way. Brute Bernard was older, but they had Nelson Royal. He was like the world's junior NWA World Junior heavyweight champion or whatever. You had Jack and Jerry Briscoe. They will come through right before Jack Briscoe went and won that NWA World Championship. But that was basically in the Mid-Atlantic. But you did have people who used to come through, like Dory Funk Jr., who was the world heavyweight champion at that time, and then Harley Race took the belt from him in '73. So it was steady going up. But don't get me wrong, Dory Funk Jr., I think, who had the world heavyweight championship from like '69 to '73. Or was it 68 to 72? But he held it for 4 years. He was an outstanding champion. I really didn't remember a whole lot about him. I do remember him coming through and defending that world heavyweight championship against Johnny Weaver back then. Back like in '72, I was like 5 years old. He came through and he defended the title against Johnny Weaver. I do remember that. Johnny Weaver was my favorite wrestler at that time. But then, you come up to like 73, 70, and then 74. You had Chief Wahoo McDaniel came back to the area. Chief Wahoo McDaniel and Johnny Valentine was in the area, in the Mid-Atlantic area, and those guys pretty much took the territory from a tag team standpoint, because it was a tag team. Mid-Atlantic Championship Wrestling was a tag team division. The whole company was basically based off tag teams. Before Jim Crockett Jr. got it, when Jim Crockett Sr. had it, all his matches was tag teams. And I think Memphis, it was a couple other places. One in Tennessee, I think Jerry Jarrett's promotion, basically tag teams. A lot of these, the best companies, everything that they ran in wrestling, it was, the best territories was a tag team territory. But Jim Crockett Jr. came in and he started focusing more on singles competition. Now, you had Ray Goff up there in Georgia. He was doing some great things, but cable hadn't really came on at that time. It was actually coming on, but I hadn't had cable in my area yet. So, but I would go to certain people's houses who had satellites and things like that, and I would watch Georgia Championship Wrestling, which I know Richard pretty much that's where he's from, and that's what he watched. But man, yeah, we had a lot. There was a lot of great things. But come 1975, man, you had the IWA that came and pretty much went all over the nation. They was the first ones who tried to go national. The IWA had Mil Mascaras as their world champion. They had Ernie the Cat Ladd. They had Bulldog Brower. They had Mighty Igor. They had the Mongos. They had Dino Bravo and Gino Brito, which was my favorite tag team, I would say, around that time. But you had a lot of great guys, man, a lot of great talent that was in the IWA. And the IWA came out of Cleveland, Ohio, but they set up right here in my town, Greenville, South Carolina, which is Jim Crockett, man. Jim Crockett, like I say, his number one territory, his number one areas in this territory was Greensboro, North Carolina, Greenville, South Carolina, and Charlotte, North Carolina. But he set up right here in Greenville, man. He came up and set up shop, down the road. The IWA, that was very bold. But they, like I said, they did a great job. They had some outstanding talent in the IWA, and it just, man, like I say, 75 was hot. 76 75, 76 was hot. You had Ricky Steamboat coming to the area, the Mid-Atlantic area, and him and Ric Flair had a great feud. Tiger Conway Jr. Before that, Tiger Conway Jr. and Ric Flair in 1975, man, after Flair came off that plane crash. Outstanding feud. But in 77, man, we got, I think it was 77 or maybe 76, but I think 77 is when we got cable, and we got cable in the house, and we was able to get Georgia Championship Wrestling week in and week out. And I remember Tony Atlas, man. Tony Atlas, Black Atlas, because Tony Atlas, before the end, he was in the Mid-Atlantic area, but he went up to Georgia. But, between Atlanta and Greenville, that's 2 hours away. So, so he was going back and forth, and then mainly he became a mainstay in Georgia, and he teamed up with a young man who came in, Tommy Wildfire Rich, who pretty much made his name, made his name after battles with Abdullah the Butcher. He couldn't beat Abdullah the Butcher. He just could not get that win. And every week, Abdullah would just beat the living daylights out of him, but he would just kept fighting, kept staying in there. And then one week he ended up beating Abdullah the Butcher, and that propelled him, man. But Tony Atlas took him under his wing, and those guys became the TNT Connection. Man, outstanding stuff. But yeah, that 1977, probably one of the best years of wrestling that I can remember. All right, man. But let me go ahead and get these comments. Let's see what my man Richard Hood got to say. I know he's got a lot to say. All right, Rich says, Harry, do you remember when the roller derby would come on after wrestling? Yes, sir. Used to watch it every night. My aunts loved the roller derby. And my uncle, I was over at my grandma's house every weekend. I stayed with my grandma because I love my grandma so much. I'm just a grandma's boy instead of a mom's boy. All my brothers, they was mom boys. I had 3 brothers. I got 3 brothers. They was mama's boys. I was grandma's baby. And so I would be over there every weekend, or in the summertime, I was in there. And my grandmother was a bigger wrestling fan than my brother. So I had to watch wrestling every single week with them. And we watched the roller derby right after wrestling. That was kind of crazy, man. Let's see. Dory held it from 69 to 73. Exactly, Richard. I knew it was one of those two, 69 to 73, 68 to 72. But Dory Funk Jr. was an outstanding world champion. And he doesn't get enough credit, man. He doesn't get the credit that he deserved. And, I'm going to go ahead and say it right here, hey, sorry for all you people that really never really saw Dory or saw Dory in his heyday, but Terry is not as good as Dory. Terry was great, tough, a very tough wrestler. Outstanding wrestler, but he's not as good as Dory, man. No ends, ands, or buts about that. All right. Okay, my man, Dwayne Pace Cruiser says Johnny Weaver had them cauliflower ears. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. There's another one, man. Veteran in the game, my man, Cruiser Lewis. I'm going to have to give you a call, Cruiser. We need to talk, my brother. All right. Let's see. Yeah, Ray Gunkel. It was Ray Gunkel, yeah, who won it. I mean, who had it, not Ray Goff. I don't know why in the world I'm saying Ray Goff. Ray Goff was the Georgia football coach. But yeah, Ray Gunkel, and then his wife ended up getting the territory. And that was kind of crazy. And they trying to take it from her. But yeah, that was kind of crazy. That's another speak about that another time. Yeah, Richard Hood, the Soul Patrol, Thunderbolt, and Lad. Yes. And they went through Georgia and Florida. They did their thing. Yeah, Thunderbolt Patterson and Ernie Ladd. Forgot about them, those two. Yeah, the IWA in Greenville, what year? That was like 76, 77, I think, Cruiser, that they set up in Greenville. They did. They set up in Greenville for a while. They was at the Textile Center. They used to run shows out of the Textile Center. They did that for a year because they was upset with Jim Crockett because Jim Crockett pretty much kept them out of the main buildings. He kept them out of the main buildings in the territory, in the Carolinas and Virginia. And they came down here and decided to set up. But they was here in Greenville for like a year. I used to go to the shows, man. Incredible. But they had great shows. I mean, they put on some great shows. To me, they had better, what they did. They used to put on better shows than Jim Crockett. And that's saying a lot. At that time, they put on better shows than Jim Crockett, who had George Scott booking. But they put on better shows, man. They had the better talent. And they were so innovative. They was first ones who pretty much had the instant replay and everything. The music was great. So many different things that they was doing, man. Cowboy Bob Ellis, like I said, the Mighty Igor. One thing about and when Jim Crockett pretty much put him out of business, he took a lot of their talent. A lot of their talent went over and started wrestling for Jim Crockett Promotions. But yeah, IWA was outstanding. It really was. It really was, Cruiser. All right, and Gunkel, yes sir, Richard, yes sir. But yeah, man, yeah, a lot of great things. But yeah, wrestling now, like I said, straight up, man. All I can really say is it is what it is, and none of us should be saying that. We really shouldn't be saying that because back in the day, used to go to a show. Tex McKenzie, Big Tex McKenzie, yes sir, Richard, yes sir. You would go to these shows. Anytime that I went to a wrestling show, I never had to worry about, hey, is this going to be a good show? Not one time. I don't ever remember in that. I don't ever remember thinking twice about turning on the TV to watch Mid-Atlantic Championship Wrestling, to watch Georgia Championship Wrestling, Florida, Championship Wrestling out of Florida. When World Class came around, we started getting it, getting World Class. I didn't have to worry about turning on the TV. Southwest Championship Wrestling, what's the name's dad? Tully Blanchard's dad, Joe Blanchard was running that. I never had to worry about turning on the TV and saying, hey, is this show going to be any good? Never had to worry about that because they were all good. I mean, someone was better than the other ones. Some was better than, my favorite two, Mid-Atlantic Championship Wrestling, Georgia Championship Wrestling. Everything else after that was, mediocre. That was the top tier. Georgia Championship Wrestling, Mid-Atlantic Championship Wrestling, and the World Wrestling Federation at that time, the Worldwide Wrestling Federation. When I started watching that, I started watching that in the late 70s. I was watching that on satellite and all the way up until 82 when Dad still had it. It was outstanding, man. It was hard hitting. It was great. It was really good stuff, coming out of New York. So they had a great territory. But those three territories, to me, was the top tier. And then you had your second tier with Florida Championship Wrestling, Memphis Wrestling. So Florida, Memphis, World Class out of Texas, Joe Blanchard's Southwest Championship Wrestling. Then not many of them was on the C level, but you did. I mean, Portland was good, especially when they had Roddy Piper, but they was good even after that with Dutch Mantell and so many of those guys. They continued to be good, but not as good as, like I said, not as good as, WCW, not with Mid-Atlantic, which became WCW. Raymond said, Harry, remember Lou Thesz held the NWA Championship 2,300 days from November 27th, 1949 to March 15th, 1956. Yeah, he held it for a long time. I wasn't there, so I don't. Yeah, I know he held it all the days, Raymond, but I wasn't there. You wasn't there. Richard wasn't there. My man Dwayne wasn't there. Cruiser, none of us. We wasn't there. We wasn't there, man. But he held that belt for a long, long time. Yeah, no ins, ands, or buts about that. All right, man. But yeah, tomorrow night. All right, but before I get off here, guys, I'm stay on here for a little while longer. But hey, before I get off here, I want you guys to hit that like, share, join if you're on Facebook. You're here on YouTube, hit the like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell, ding, 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 so you know we're on like times like these. And man, if you're on Twitch, you do the same thing that you do here on YouTube. Hit that like, share, tweet, and retweet. Like, share, tweet, and retweet. Man, that sounds like Twitter. Sound like that's X, man. That's X, formerly known as Twitter. Hit that like, share, join. Hit that like, share, subscribe, and join if you over on Twitch. If you over on X, formerly known as Twitter, hit that like, share, tweet, and retweet. And follow the Straight Up Wrestling Show over on X, guys. Say that a little bit different, but whatever platform you're on, go ahead and hit that like button, guys, and share and join if you've never seen the Straight Up Wrestling Show and you like what you're hearing. But yes, tomorrow night, guys, SWA out in Georgia, Eastern Alley, Georgia, 244 Livestock Road. We will have a show down there, man. It's going to be a great show, SWA show. Let me go ahead and get the name for you guys. But yeah, this is going to be a show in Eastern Alley, Georgia, 244 Livestock Road. And believe me, you go there, you want to see some wrestling. You want to be amongst a crowd that's always up and always getting into it 100%. That's going to make you feel welcome. Hey, go to SWA Wrestling. Because SWA, they always bring the heat, man. There's always something going on fantastic down in Eastern Alley, Georgia. So, yeah, if you're in the upstate of South Carolina, you in Georgia, man, right there, pretty much, close to Lake Hartwell. Hey, you in Western North Carolina, head on out to Eastern Alley, Georgia, because you will not believe the action that you see at Eastern Alley. Hey, every single month they bring a fantastic show, and CMW run shows out of there too. But tomorrow night, man, it's all about SWA. So, but let me get in here, man. Let me get in here, and because I want to talk about the name of the show. Definitely want to talk about that. Alrighty, man. Goodness sake. One thing about our page, and hey, I'm happy about it. A lot of people come in, they post in the Straight Up Wrestling Show page, and man, so it's very successful. So I'm happy about that. A lot of people come and post on our page, but it brings everything down. Everything goes down. So you really have to look hard to pretty much find what you actually looking for on that page. But you can go to the SWA page. You definitely can, and you can find exactly what I'm talking about. But yeah, I'm pretty sure it's on my home page. It's on my home page farther up. But I'm gonna have to go in and pin this show. But tomorrow night, like my man said, hey, we are pumping this thing up. Not just pumping it up because it's a show. It's just another show. It's definitely not another show. It is SWA. And like I said, when SWA, every time SWA is in town, SWA brings it, and they bring it hard, everybody. But yeah, I'm going to bring up SWA because this thing is beginning to trip me out, man. Beginning to trip me out. Loser leaves SWA. All right, loser leaves SWA. So let me talk about that. Rick Page and mystery opponent. Okay. Oh, Rick Page is going to have a mystery partner. I forgot about that. I was at this show. Why in the world I don't know about it? Yeah, he's going to have a mystery partner, and Scott Green's going to have a mystery partner. Hey, so that thing right there going down. That thing is going down. But I'm going to come back. I'm going to talk about this a little bit later. I'm going to talk about SWA tomorrow, and then we have the whole card. We got a lot of different wrestlers that's going to be there. So we have to see, man. Come on out. We don't know how. I don't know how it's going to pan out, but I do look forward to that. Those mystery partners of Scott Green and Rick Page. It's going to be very interesting. Rick Page, one of the commissioners, and Scott Green, one of the commissioners. And it's going to be a loser leave AWA. Loser leaves. I mean, SWA. Loser leaves SWA. Sorry about that. But, hey, I'm interested. I'm definitely interested. I'm definitely interested in what's going to be going down tomorrow night. But, man, yeah, it's wild, man. Why is wrestling like this? Why is wrestling like this? That what we got to say, oh, it is what it is. And another thing that I am tired of, speaking of, as far as indie wrestling, like I said, I've been to like 23 different promotions, man. And my thing is this. When I was coming up watching the territories, I could flip channels and go from territory to territory. They were all different, guys. They were different. So all it is to it, they were different. You flip to these different promotions, they were different. But now you go to these indie shows, and Chris and myself, like I said, we have promoted what we have been invited to. Did podcasts, a commentary at 23 different promotions, indie promotions. And for the most part, 80% of them, 80 to 85% of them, copycats. Copycats, man. All wrestling is going to have elements of different, if you go to different promotions, they all going to have elements of wrestling to where they all look, they're going to look the same. But most of these companies, man, that we've been to, identical. It's identical. Copycats. That's one thing I can't stand, guys. I can't stand copycat leads popping up all the time, doing the same old thing over and over again, because it doesn't hurt any. It does not hurt. What am I trying to say? It hurts wrestling overall. It does. It hurts wrestling overall. And the funny thing about it is, you have these promoters. I know a lot of them who will get out here and they say, don't go work for this promoter, don't go work for that promoter, don't go work for that promotion, don't go do it. Don't do it. It's funny. They telling you don't do it. Because, for some reason, they supposed to be better. They supposed to know what wrestling is about. So they tell you don't go work for another promotion. And then next thing you know, they're out of business. They're not doing anything because you know why? Because they wasn't doing anything special themselves. Wasn't doing anything special themselves. And then I told you don't go work for this other promotion that may be paying you. And that's another thing. I told these wrestlers, man, look, if somebody is willing to pay you, a wrestling promotion is willing to pay you, and you're not going to go there and get hurt, not asking anybody to go anywhere to get hurt. You're not going to get hurt, definitely consider that Might as well go and make that money. Tell each and every one of you young people out here, go make that money. As far as out here in this wrestling business, because when something pops up that you need to do out here in this world, I'm talking about world things. I'm talking about real world things, man. Like, you may be married, or your mom, somebody in your family may need something, or you may need something. You may need to fix something, or something may happen to you. It could be your health or whatever. And money that you've turned down could have been money to go to whatever you need. And not saying that hey, these wrestlers, because I know a lot of you guys are bad with money. I know that. You have to learn to be good stewards of your money, and you got to learn to put some money away. I don't care if you're getting paid $10 at that whatever place you wrestled at, $20, $15, $20, $30. You don't need to put money in gas. Take some of that money. Take a couple of dollars of that money and put it away, guys. Because you don't know what the future brings. Things pop up. Straight up. One of the companies that I work for, I've been putting in money. I give money out of my own pocket. I've given a lot of money. Make sure wrestlers get paid good and everything. And like I said, man, hey, coming up on the 29th, my wife is having knee surgery, replacement surgery. Well, on the 24th, April the 24th. And they say, hey, we need $3,000, $3,100, man. I got to pay over $3,000, $3,149 for the surgery. And thank God that I have it. I definitely have it. But I tell you what, it took me years to learn how to manage my money, man. I always, me and my wife, always made pretty good money. But hey, for a long time, making a lot more money than the average person, but we was living check to check for a long time with our 3 children. And it was ridiculous. Then I stopped working, and, and started taking care of my autistic son. And for some reason, I learned how to budget money because we was working with one income, my wife's income, for a few years until I went back to work, started working again. But I learned how to budget money. I learned how to control money, learn how to make money and keep money. But you young people out here, man, they're just turning down. Y'all turning down, these companies and things. And then you come back and you come back. The people that you talk about, you come back and then you want to book it. It's crazy. These wrestling companies out here, they come and go. They come and go, man. All right. Dwayne Cruiser said, and terrible undertrained workers. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right. Cruiser says, carpool with other workers. You never know what you can learn. Exactly. Yes, sir. Exactly. Carpool with other workers. Like I said, like Cruiser said, you never know what you can learn. Man, you can learn so many different things from so many different people that may be working for something, a promotion that you call a trash promotion. They may have a couple guys in that promotion that everybody looks up to, or they may have a veteran, couple veterans in there that's outstanding. You may catch a ride with them, or you may, like I say, catch a ride with certain people, and you may not have to pay a lot of gas money or pay gas money. They may be like, oh, hey, I'm going anyway. You don't have to pay. And that way you can save your money. But every single thing out here, make sure you benefit. You out here on this indie scene, make sure you benefit from everything that you do, because you are putting your body through a lot. You are putting your body through a lot. Man, hey, I was out here fighting, man. I was out there in the ring fighting. Man, so look, only a few years, did it a few years. I can't tell you how many times I've been hit in the head, hitting the body, hey, wear and tear. But man, take care of yourself. Take care of yourself. And I know you guys are not getting hit 200 times in the face, in a wrestling match, but, getting body slammed, man, getting thrown out the ring, all those bumps and bruises, basically, hey, you guys going through a lot, man. You're going to have back pain. You're going to have all kind of different ailments as you get older. Even more than what I had as a football player, as a boxer. Wrestlers, man, wrestlers. If you in this business long enough, my man Cruiser can tell you. Dwayne can tell you. Raymond can tell you, who's a wrestler, who's been who's a veteran too in the game. Both of these guys in their mid-50s. Both of them can tell you, man, that you are going to have a lot of problems. But man, have something to fall back on. Have something to fall back on. Or if you do end up where you don't have a lot to fall back on, hey, at least you can say, you look back and say, I did it the right way. And I did make something of it. I did make something of this business. I made the right decisions. And I did not get out here and try to be and think that I was better than anybody else, or I was too good to take a certain booking. But like I said, look, man, don't take everything. Do not take everything. And don't get yourself in a situation where you can get hurt. But man, as far as people out here who want to, blackball you or whatever, hey, I wouldn't worry about that too much. To a certain point, yes, but not too much. Because a lot of the people that I've seen blackball people, they're not in the business no more. They'll pop back up because they do it all the time. Their little company or whatever, they'll pop back up somewhere. But man, from what I've learned so far in the 4 years that Straight Up Wrestling Show has been out here on the scene, that most of these people that's out here, most of these promoters and everything, they all bark, man, with a little bite. And they all fade away. Most of them fade away. All right. Richard says, wrestling is the toughest sport. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You could, unless, only thing I can really say that's comparable as far as breaking your body up, and I'm going to say is, I'm going to say it's football. If you play football for a long time. Most of them only play, the life of football players is usually between 2.5 to 4 years. But if you play for a long time, you can really, it's going to affect your body big time. But as far as boxing go, yeah, you can pretty much, it depends. It depends on how many licks you take, or, if you don't have a good defense, yeah, you can pretty much, it can change a whole bunch of different things. It's going to slur your speech. It's going to change a lot of different things as far as boxing goes. But as far as wrestling, like I say, wrestling can tear your body completely up. It really can. And so people can get out here and they can use the F word all they want. But, man, unless you do it, and, hey, I haven't done it. I may get in the ring, but I'm afraid I might do something crazy. There's guys there's people out here, man, friends of mine want me to get in there and, train a little bit. I can train with some of my friends and get in there and do a little bit of something. I'm still in good shape. I'm still good, in pretty good shape to where I could do it. But I don't want to get in that ring and somebody end up doing something wrong. And next thing you know, it's going to turn into a shoot match. And if it turns into a shoot match with me, it's not going to be good. It's all it is to it. Won't be good because somebody gonna be picking their teeth off the floor straight up. I'm gonna detach retinas. I'm gonna hit people in the eye and detach their retina. Just things like that. But man, yeah, I would do some dumb things. So, but no, not really, man. I'm a compassionate guy. I really am. I'm a nice guy, even though some people may think I'm not. But I'm a very nice guy, man. Love people, man. Love God, love people. That's just how I am. If I can avoid it, I'm definitely not going to get in a conversation with you. Definitely not going to get in a fight with you if I can avoid it. So, yeah, I went into the ring, man. As long as everybody treated me right in that ring, hey, it's going to be what it is. It's going to be a show. That's what it's going to be. So, yeah, I may do it. Because I got guys that want me to team up with them and do certain things. I may go in and do a few things, why I can, but not much. Talking about wrestling. That's my arena, talking about wrestling and just being a part of it. That's my arena. I know you are. I know you are, Cruiser. I'm not getting in the ring with you. There were some people that say they won't be getting in the ring with you. You ain't doing that. I ain't letting you do nothing to me, man. I know you'll be all right. I I know you'll train me and help me out, Cruiser. I ain't worried. I'm not worried about that. But, oh man. But yeah, I do. I do think I'm gonna do it. I do think I'm gonna do it sometime, within the near future. Because if I'm gonna do it, I need to do it now. Because hey, 60 is not too far away. It's a few years away, but it's not a long time. So I definitely will not be doing it at that age, even though we have guys out here that's doing it, man. And big ups to those guys. Big ups to those wrestlers that's out here, that's still out here wrestling in the 60s, the 70s. Some of them even that I grew up with, like Chick Donovan. I mean, you had the Boogie Woogie Man, Jimmy Valiant, who just retired not too long ago. But you got Mike Davis out here still doing this thing, man. And I saw him in Atlanta, last summer. We had a very good conversation. But there's a lot of guys out here that's still doing it, man, and big ups to him, and nothing but respect to him. Just like my man Dwayne Pace here, big ups to him, who's been in the business for a long time. Ray Underwood, big ups to him, been in the business for a long time. These guys know some things. And one thing I do like about my man Cruiser here, Dwayne, when he talks, he knows how to talk to people. He knows how to talk to these guys that's in the, that's coming up. He knows, he has good rapport with him. He knows how to approach them. Some people out here don't know how to talk to these guys, guys who've been in the game a long time. I don't think they mean any harm or whatever, but they have so much passion. And that's one thing about me. I have a lot of passion too, in which some people mistake for, arrogance, or that I'm coming off, what is the word? I can't, I'm coming off to where disrespectful, maybe to some of these people that's been in the business for a while, as far as promoters and wrestlers like that. It's not that, I'm just passionate about it. Always have been about wrestling. And yes, would I like to see wrestling the way it used to be? Yes, I do. But that is not saying that, hey, I am looking for Gordon Soley to come back and one man gang to be up in the ring, and one man gang taking on Crusher Blackwell. That's not that's not what I'm looking for. That's not what I'm looking for, guys. I think a lot of people don't understand that. Like Chris a lot of times say, Harry wants to see headlocks, 20-minute abdominal stretches. No, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the basic storyline wrestling. I mean, you see a lot of wrestling back in the day where they was building a story in the ring, guys. It was great. It was awesome. You did not have to look for spots. You didn't have to wait for Mr. Wrestling 2 to hit somebody with a knee lift to pretty much get the crowd into it. You did not have to wait for Ricky Steamboat to do a full body press, do a body press off the top rope to pretty much get the crowd pumped up. You didn't have to see you didn't have to wait for Jimmy Superfly Snuka to hit somebody with that Superfly off the rope or coming off the 20-foot cage like he did against Bob Backlund and miss. You didn't have to wait for that to get for the crowd to be popped, to get a pop. I mean, you just didn't. So that's what I want. And that's one thing, my man Cruiser. I love watching him wrestling because the crowd, everybody is very interested. The crowd is into it, even when he's just putting basic moves on. Hold on for just a second. Mr. Hargrove, what's going on with you, man?
I can't call it, man. How you doing today?
All right, man. I'm online, man. Podcast. Oh. Yeah, I've been on this podcast for over an hour, man.
Hey, I think you're working, brother. So, yeah, don't let me hold stuff up. Hey, do your thing.
I'll call you right back, man, because I'm about to get off. But yeah, I'll call you right back. Give me a minute. All right. All right. Stay tuned on the phone. Stay beside your phone later.
No problem.
All right, guys. But yeah, I don't know, man. Wrestling can be great. Wrestling definitely can be great. And don't be fooled. Don't be fooled by everything that you hear. That WWE officials, especially WWE people, it's the best it's ever been. Today it's never been more popular. It's never been better than it is now. You hear people like Dutch Mantell say that. You hear, let's see, it wasn't Eric Bischoff, I think the guy who teams with him, and a couple other people. Oh, it's the best it's ever been. Podcasters. I'm talking big time podcasters, people that's been in the business before. Oh, it's never been better. Yeah, money wise. The sport's making a lot of money, and the reason that the sport is making a lot of money is because of inflation. Inflation, guys. That's the reason the sport is making a lot of money. No other reason. every year they lose fans. Every year fans have been disappearing from the sport. Even the 4 years that we have been, the 4 years we have been doing this. When we first started doing this, Raw, Monday Night Raw, for I think the first 4 months, they was doing 1.8 million every single week. They did 1.8 million. That's when Bobby Lashley was the champion. He was the world champ. And Charlotte Flair was the world champ over. They was the champs over on Raw. They did 1.8 million every week. Then it dwindled to 1.66, between 1.6 and 1.7. Then it went down to 1.5, 1.4. Then 1.3. And sometimes it's 1.2 and 1.1. And then went back up to 1.3, 1.4, and then it goes back up. But Raw's ratings have been down for a long time. Now that they over on Netflix, they started off, they was really hot. I think it was 5.7 million. Then it went down to the 3 millions. That's worldwide, guys. Basically, they doing the same numbers that they was doing before they got into Netflix. They doing probably 1.5 million in the United States. They do like 3.7, sometimes 3.4, whatever. But the United States about like 1.5 million. But worldwide, only doing 3 million? Man, Memphis used to get that. Memphis Wrestling used to get 3 million fans every week. In AEW, you got some guy who's a mark out here, who's just a fan. Tommy Rich is still active. Yes, sir, Richard. Yes, he is. He's still doing his thing. He's been here a couple times, and he was wrestling for APW out up in Spartanburg, not far from me. He came here and he wrestled last year. He pretty much did a stint there. Yeah, so Tommy Rich, yeah, he's still active. He's still doing his thing, Richard, no doubt. Let's see. And who else? Yeah, AEW, some guy come out here and he just threw up a number and say they doing 500,000 every week on on Max, on HBO Max. On Max. They're not. That's just crazy. They're doing, because they continue to do the same number that they was doing before they got on Max on regular TV. So you telling me these 500,000, 500,000 fans, they just came from nowhere and then they jumped on Max? No. Unless these fans that already have Max, they turning on their TVs and they getting that. That's the only thing. That's the only explanation I know of, because they're not getting 500,000 extra people. They're not doing 1.1, 1.2 million every week, because that's what they will be. That's where they will be, because they did 669,000 this past week. The week before they did 590,000, something like that. Their numbers was down, but they would be doing the same numbers that Raw is doing pretty much. If you take out what Raw is doing worldwide, they would be doing the same number, and there's no way. All right, Richard said Mike Jackson is Mike Jackson. Yeah, he's still active. Yes, he is. Yes, sir. But yeah, I am gonna get off of here. I got some things I gotta do, but most likely, like I said, I will be back for SmackDown tonight. Hey, if I don't come on a little bit earlier and pretty much go ahead and talk about the card tonight, but I'm gonna have to be on for SmackDown tonight because I cannot go to the indie show that we was going to. But I appreciate Richard Hood coming in. Appreciate my man Cruiser Lewis coming in here. I appreciate Ray Underwood coming in here. I appreciate Lucas coming through. I appreciate who else came through here, man. Let's see. I appreciate Fatia coming through. I appreciate my man Hassan Terrell coming through, and everybody else who came in. I know there's a lot more people coming through because I see it up on the ticker, but I appreciate everybody coming through, and I appreciate everybody who watched us over on Twitch. I appreciate everybody that's here on YouTube, and I appreciate everybody on Facebook. But until later on, stay tuned. Stay tuned. Get ready for the Straight Up Wrestling Show, because we will be back around. Stay straight up. Peace.